Alright guys, so let's start with some basic introductory stuff about software testing. And we won't go very deep in the rabbit hole in this vlog. We're just gonna stick to the basics. So anyone can, if there are enthusiasts amongst you that are not professionals and they wanna have a clear picture of the software testing activity and the quality assurance process, um, well, they can look at this and maybe make a certain idea for themselves about what software testing is and what how you can start at doing this as a hobbyist and later on maybe as a professional, right? So the first thing that we want to look at is a definition of software testing. You can find this on many sites. It's just I picked up ideas from different places that I looked on and many places that I worked in, and pretty much created this definition for myself. You can agree to it, you can disagree to it, you can comment about it, whatever you want, as I said in the introductory video. So, to me, software testing is a practice of executing an application under test with an intention, a clear intention of finding bugs and errors before application is deployed into production, right? Now, this applies, by the way, not only to software distribution, software development, and later on distribution, but also to hardware, right? Hardware manufacturers. Um, any piece of thing that is developed should be tested, in my opinion, right? And this is the definition that I come with, uh, mixing information from all over the place, if you will, in my research, right? Now, why is testing important? Key question here, right? So, a couple of bullet points that you can see here on the screen. Now, all business requirements are implemented. You have to make sure of that, right? Functionalities are behaving as expected. Application is secure enough against security threats. So, fourth point here would be does not break under working circumstances, does not harm the business reputation, performs its function within an acceptable time, works well on all supported platforms, devices, and screens, right? To make sure that customer can trust and rely on your product, I think this is the most important bullet point in this list that you're seeing here. Okay, so product vendors, product manufacturers, you might want to take a look at this bullet point because this it's kind of something that you want to take care of, right? To make sure that customer can trust and rely on your product. Yeah, all right. Testing is important about that. It's quite important regarding your customers. All right. Now, before we get into what is quality assurance, let's discuss each of these bullets a little bit. First of all business requirements are implemented, right? What is a business requirement? Well, any product, be it software or hardware, comes with a couple of business requirements. It is mainly a bullet list that comes from product management, and product management extracted this information from maybe a market research, and they have concluded that these are the key functionalities uh, that need to be attained in the development of said piece of software or hardware, right? Now, this is a must. It must exist for everything that is developed. That's why we have product management. So, product management is very important. It is the liaison between customer and a development team. All right. Moving forward, functionalities are behaving as expected, right? We just discussed on the first bullet points about business requirements. Those business requirements may not be all functional business requirements. They might include other aspects, such as the way the application looks or the way the application relates to the customers, right? But functional requirements will exist, will always exist, and will be probably uh, up to 80–90% of that business requirement list, all right? So you have to really look into the functional aspects of your developed application or hardware piece. Because otherwise, if it's not a functional thing and it's just a pretty thing that you look at, then you basically have nothing. Yeah, you have a pretty statuette that you can put on your desk, but that doesn't make it a functional uh, piece of hardware or software. Application is secure enough against security threats, so this is specific to software development. You have to make sure that certain security thresholds are attained. Uh, Hackers cannot get behind your application and start misbehaving with the customer I don't know, environment of multiple systems. Does not break under working circumstances. So this is pretty much self-explanatory, but again, it's based on the business requirement list that you get, right? In there, you are going to find something related to what is expected of this to work, right? So you have to make sure that those working circumstances are attained by the application, right? Does not harm the business reputation. Again, you have to be very careful to maintain a clear line in between the products that your company obviously produce. Um, they have to all look a certain way. They will have to behave a certain way. All right. Again, these are company standards, and they will be probably most likely related to your development team, and they will have to be applied accordingly to the business rules and the company rules. All right. Performs its functions within an acceptable time. Well, time is a factor. So if, let's say, a web page, um, it's going to start, but it's going to start with great latency, that is not a good thing. All right. The times need to be reduced to an acceptable level. Maybe this time frame will be related to you, or is just um, something that you have to assert yourself and think for yourself. Hey, I've seen this kind of um, web application or on-prem application, and it starts and runs in this time frame. Why shouldn't this one be any different or too different from the ones that I already worked on, or the ones that I have as a customer or as an enthusiast I seen in the past, right? So this might be, um, although it's important, don't get me wrong, but this might be left at your assertion, right? So you might not get a time frame as a business specification or requirement. You may have to work these time frames for yourself and plan your tests accordingly to that. All right. So just a little bit of insight. I said I wouldn't go too deep, but sometimes you have to make certain specs about what you're saying here so people can actually understand what you're saying, right? Works well on all supported platforms. In case of software applications, you need to make sure that most of the OSs are uh, compatible with what your development team are actually developing. You have to look into that. You have to, again, plan accordingly and create a test environment, which we will get later on in maybe a separate video, because that's an important factor in the testing activity. But yeah, you have to plan ahead, and you have to make a small survey or take advantage of a existing survey of what platforms, software platforms, software operating systems are there on the market, and what is most commonly used by potential customers that will want to buy from your company the product that you're working on, right? To make sure that customer can trust and rely on your product. Well, I already said my piece about this. So this is maybe the key important factor of software testing. Why do you do this? Because you need your customers to trust in you as a business, as a company. You need to make sure that the customer understands that you have spent time and other resources on testing on a professional level. All right. So we will get in the next video to talk about quality assurance, quality control, and the differences between quality assurance and quality control. There are quite a few, and most of the time I've seen people uh, treat these two with a lot of confusion, and we need to clear some aspects about that. So please stay tuned for the next entry in this video log. Catch you on the next one.